Hi everyone, I am Vera and a proud member of the PIC Inner Tribe. I was privileged to be part of the few who decided to enroll in this program. I heard about it during the Maiden Parents Conference of the PIC Academy. At the end of the conference, after gaining so much knowledge on parenting, when the PIC Inner Tribe was introduced, I told myself that I would definitely want to be part of this. And so I was ready to do whatever it took to be part of it. And in fact, what was required to be part of it was just chicken change, because the experience in there is worth millions and millions and billions of cedis. I am not exaggerating. The Inner Tribe has been a blessing to me and to my family. It is a place where parents are urged on to raise and nurture responsible children who will grow up to transform generations. The Inner Tribe has coaches who are seasoned, well-seasoned coaches who have the patience, though they are so knowledgeable, they have the patience to groom every parent to become who God requires him or her to be. I got to know about the Inner Tribe, and I think it is a blessing that God gave to me, because I was facing challenges in parenting, and I'm one person who always looks out for the best for my children. I believe that the society becomes a better place when we have well-raised children to take up responsibility as adults. And so I have always wanted a safe place to receive safe and sound direction on how to raise children. And I tell you, the Inner Tribe is the place for that. There are daily connection activities. There are weekly seminars. There are activities to do. We read books that pertains to so many aspects of parenting and a whole lot. It is a place that you cannot be and then be a passive parent. My life has changed simply because I became a triber, and I will not trade that for anything. Any opportunity I have to enroll again as a triber, I will be the first to be there, because the experience there is life-changing. I urge every parent here to enroll as an Inner Tribe member, to receive sound direction, to be helped, to be supported. We have coaches who go all out. They are readily available to help us tackle any problem we face as parents. We are not only trained in the area of child upbringing, but even as parents, we are also trained to imbibe discipline, to focus on our parenting journey, financial prudence, every other aspect that is required to be the parents that you are expected to be. It is taught in the Inner Tribe. We are not done yet, but the way things are going in there, it even shapes you as a wife, as a career woman, as a manager, wherever you are. As you enroll in the Inner Tribe, you realize that you receive wisdom, you receive tutelage to enable you perform better in any area of your life. In less than 1 year of enrolling in the Inner Tribe, the transformation I see in my children and even in myself is tremendous. It is incredible. I realize that my children now follow the routines that we have set together as a family. My parenting journey has become much easier. And then I have now come to agree that, in fact, a lot of the things we go through as parents is simply because we ourselves are not ready. We are not trained for the parenting journey, and we only vent our anger on the children. And so, kind courtesy the Inner Tribe, my home is now a no caning, no spanking, no yelling zone. And meanwhile, everything works as planned. We did not get there in a day. We had daily connection activities that, in my estimation, I do not know where we're heading towards with those connection activities, but as they all came together, I now came to understand the saying of our coaches always that once you are well connected to your child, whatever you say, whatever you ask them to do, they do it with ease. It is very true. The experience in the inner tribe cannot be talked about in a few minutes. You need to experience it to understand what we are talking about. It is a place to be. I would urge every parent, no matter the sacrifice it will take to be part of this inner tribe, if only you want to raise generational giants, if you want to raise well-rounded children, children who are equipped in every aspect of their lives, children who can take up responsibility, children who change the status quo, then I urge you to enroll as an inner triber, and I bet you your life will never be the same.
Hello, everyone. It's getting hotter, hotter, hotter. So we are on our fourth speaker, and I hope you are ready. Go get your pen, your paper, your book, and some water, okay? So that when it's getting hotter, you can just drink some water to cool down. I welcome you here once again. If you haven't shared the link, kindly share the link with other parents so that, as usual, they can all, come together. We can all come together and learn something. So our next speaker is ready. Let's go straight ahead and listen to her. Bye.
Families with over 4 years of experience. Chinyere Obinna is a parent coach who specializes in child sex education for Christian families with over 4 years of experience. Her work with children and teens has spanned over 10 years as she has served in various capacities both in education and administration. She has been trained and certified as a child protection professional. She also has a certification as a digital citizenship educator for young children. She is a public speaker who has graced many platforms, sharing her wealth of knowledge in the appropriate and effective ways for parents to offer sex education to their children. She is also an author with over 5 books in her name. Currently, she is invested in training and empowering Christian parents and children in sex education because she believes that since God is the creator of sex, his children should own the narrative. Big parents, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome to the stage Mrs. Chinyere Obinna.
Can you hear me? Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to my session. I thought I was going to see someone else. I hope I can start. I'm not seeing anybody. Hope I can go ahead. Okay, I can go ahead. Awesome. A minute.
Her work with children and teens has spanned over 10 years as she has served in various capacities both in education and administration. She has been trained and certified as a child protection professional. She also has a certification as a digital citizenship educator for young children. She is a public speaker who has graced many platforms, sharing her wealth of knowledge in the appropriate and effective ways for parents to offer sex education to their children. She is also an author with over 5 books in her name. Currently, she is invested in training and empowering Christian parents and children in sex education because she believes that since God is the creator of sex, his children should own the narrative. Pick parents, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome to the stage Mrs. Chin.
So sorry about that. I needed to settle some things. We just took the light. So I'm going straight to what I have today, and it's raising sexually children in a confused culture. Thank you so much, Coach Ikwa, for always bringing me on your program, on your stage. I don't take it for granted. It's such a privilege to come speak to parents on your platform. Thank you so much. So I go straight ahead so I can maximize my time for today. And it's raising sexually children in a confused culture. The culture is indeed confused. I'm sure you can agree with me. You know, God has called us as parents, but not just as parents, but as gatekeepers, right? As watchmen and destiny shapers. You know, we are co-creators with God. So God actually, it's a privilege he gave us to co-create with him. He gave us his children and then gives us the privilege to mold them, to shape their destinies into what it's supposed to be. So today, I'm praying that God will help us as we raise children in the present dark world that we are facing. Remember, we are talking about raising sexually wise children in a confused culture on the Parents Conference 2025. In raising sexually wise children in a confused culture, a very pertinent topic to look at today, because that's actually, we are in a confused culture where everybody has an opinion. So there is so much confusion in the atmosphere. There's so much confusion with the advent of the media and internet. So many people are talking at the same time. So many opinions are being heard at the same time. So how do we raise children who navigate through this confused culture without being confused themselves, without falling for every opinion that they see online, without following every wind of doctrine, like the Bible will call it, that they see everywhere around them? Now, this conversation is going to go in different sections, and the first thing you're going to do, and I want it to be really, really practical today. I believe we all have our writing material. So we're going to really go practical today. In raising sexually wise children, God has called us to raise children. I said it before, to shape these destinies. That's actually what it means to raise children. Shape these destinies. And we are shaping a destiny who, amongst other things, this conference has been all-encompassing, talking about different areas of parenting. But amongst every other thing, to raise children, when it comes to their sexuality, when it comes to their body integrity, when it comes to making sexual decisions, they are going to make wise decisions. So as a way to start this conversation, the first thing that we are going to do, and the first thing you're going to have in mind, what do I want to do? That's the vision. That is, I call it cast the vision. Because when you have the vision, the Bible says that where there is no vision, the people cast off restraint. Like there is no control, there is no restraint. Everybody behaves anyhow and does anything. every idea, every opinion is accepted. People live anyhow. That's what the Bible says. And so you must cast a vision as it concerns your child's sexuality, who your child must begin. Imagine yourself in this as a parent in the 21st century, and your 7-year-old just suddenly comes to you and says to you, when she comes up from school, that someone in her class said that a boy can become a girl if he wants, or a girl can become a boy if she wants, and then ask you, is it true? Now, this is the kind of cases that we face every day in our present day parenting. Our parents didn't have to face such kind of questions or confusions, from us, their children, because these things were not there. And the internet just makes these things really, 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 really the information to go around, even to people who are not supposed to hear it. Imagine how you would feel if your child asked you that question. But you see, how you answer that question will determine a lot. I find a lot of parents answering questions about the body and about sex in one direction. And what's the direction? The direction of just giving information, right, to the child. Like, okay, no, you can't do that. You can't change your gender. That's it. And that is the answer to that question. A boy cannot change his gender. A girl cannot. God made boys and girls, and that's all. But I don't see a lot of people answering questions from the other angles. I'm not talking about answering questions today, but let me just point to it. Answering questions from the place of identity and answering questions from the place of value, right? So instead of just saying, no, a boy cannot become a girl. God made two genders. That's just simple information you're passing to your child, right? You call your child and start from identity and say to your child, because the child is already in confusion. I told you it's a confused culture. That's where we are. Like, confused about identity, about gender, about sexuality, and so on and so forth. So you will always, it calls for a time where parents now have to root themselves in identity-based sex conversations. So instead of just giving out that information, you come from the place of identity. He said, God didn't make a mistake with you because you are fearfully and wonderfully made. Psalm 139 is such an amazing identity scripture that can help your children. So you tell them, God didn't make a mistake in making you, because what's that conversation? The conversation that happened in school is a conversation that came directly to attack the identity of that child, identity given by God, which is an ancient battle that started since in Eden, where Satan came after Adam and Eve. It's an ancient battle, and it's not going to end. And the battle is not against children alone, it's against every human being, the battle against our identity. So our work, not just for ourselves, but for our children, is to keep solidifying identity. So God didn't make a mistake with you. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. So in this situation, you're not giving just information, you are also giving or establishing or re-emphasizing their identity. And that's not just where you stop. And you talk about your values. That's God made male and female, and that is his design. So you see, from now on, you don't answer questions just giving information. From now on, you answer questions from the place of identity, from the place of value, plus information. So that is it. But we are talking about vision. We are not raising. You're not raising. We in this parenting conference, that you are here means that you want more. That you are actually watching this conference, or those that will eventually watch or catch a replay. You are, because there is a hunger in you to raise children who won't just survive culture, who won't survive, who are not living to just survive. You are here because you want to raise children who will be able to navigate through the confusing culture with clarity, right? And still stand firm with their conviction intact. That's why you are here. So that is where it starts from, because The Bible says that children are arrows in the hand of a warrior. You are the warrior, and your children are the arrows. What's happening? Sorry about that. Before you even shoot an arrow, you must be able to shape the arrow. You must on the arrow, and of course, you aim it at a target. You don't shoot an arrow carelessly. There is always a target where the arrow must get to. And that is what we are talking about. Vision. We are talking about vision casting. What is the vision you have concerning the sexuality of your child? That is your target. Your children are the arrows that you will now, after casting your vision, you shape them, you sharpen them, and you aim at that very target. For example, your vision could be to raise a sexually wise child inside a culture of confusion, borrowing the theme, my topic for today. So it can be as simple as, I am here to raise sexually wise children inside a culture of confusion. And it's very important to put in that culture of confusion because it will help keep your head straight. It will help you keep you at the edge, without fear and panic. And what does that vision mean for you if you're actually writing it down? That today on this parenting conference, I'm casting a vision for the sexuality of my child, that this child is going to be sexually wise. That's my vision. And what does that mean? It means that the child who is sexually wise, I'm raising a child who knows truth. Who knows truth, not just random information. That is the sexually wise child I'm about to raise. I'm raising a child who can discern lies. That's one thing that is lacking. You see, a lot of young people who just accept information, hook, line, and sinker. Where is this information coming from? They cannot explain. How is it possible they cannot explain? When you come with superior knowledge, they are destabilized because they don't even know what they're just saying what they heard. It was so obvious. In the past, was it 2 months, the guy in America died, Charlie Kirk. And I didn't know him before, but I began to watch a lot of his conversations and debates with young people on the campuses. And you're asking a young person, okay, you said that male or female or woman is just a gender construct. And he goes deeper, asking even biological and scientific questions. And these people are just lost. And they'll still say it, they'll just speak the grammar. It's a social construct. What does that even mean? They can't explain. You say abortion is that the baby in the conceived fetus in the womb is not real baby. Then you begin to go deeper. Does the fetus breathe? At what point does a heartbeat found in a baby on ultrasound? And then they go like, shallow. All they are swallowing is what they hear from the media. They are swallowing culture. That's not a sexually wise child that you're raising. You're raising one who can easily discern lies. I have a friend who runs in her business. She had one of her workers, suddenly got pregnant. And then in talking to the girl, she found out that a co-worker told her, because the girl always has this pain in the belly, this ache in the belly. And okay, what happened? That this other co-worker told her that the reason why she's always having that pain consistently is because she doesn't have sex. She has not had sex before, or she doesn't have sex with boys. And this girl swallowed that information, hook, line, and sinker, and went in. And of course, I'm sure it was already lurking around her mind, and there was a boy already in question. So she went in to try out. And at that first trial, she got pregnant. Now, what's the relationship between stomach ache and sex? So you are actually raising children who can easily, like I tell my children, I say, when they get such information to you, you start by, okay, what is the biblical foundation of this information you're giving me? And then you go, what is the scientific backing or research that backs up this information you're giving me? By the time you ask those deep questions, the person would even know, I'm talking rubbish. That's a sexually wise child, a child who can say no when pressure says, just try it. That's a sexually wise child. Because it takes a lot to raise a sexually wise child. And that's why we are here. A child whose identity is rooted, just in case you are casting your vision today, that I'm going to raise a child who is going to be sexually wise despite the confused culture. I'm telling you, the intricacies of that sexually wise child is a child whose identity is rooted in truth, not trends. In Christ, not trends. So we are in a generation where we talk about trends. And whatever is trending, you see the bandwagon following. I was talking to a group of young girls recently. I said, even in the Bible, where the crowd is going is hell. Jesus said it, that broad is the way. That's what he said. And many are trooping through that road, but the end is hell. That means you cannot, a child who is sexually wise cannot be someone who follows the crowd or follows the trend, because indeed the crowd is going on a broad way. There are so many talking about the same thing, but they are heading one direction. And of course, a child who is emotionally stable, spiritually grounded, sexually wise. That is the vision you're casting. And that is you cutting your assignments. That is you cutting your assignments, knowing that, see, this assignment has been cut out for me. That's the assignment, and that's why you are here in this conference to now find out, how do I carry on this journey with my children? It's not going to be an easy one, but when you have support like the one that I was just watching the testimony, the feedback by an inner tribe member, and it's just simply amazing. Parenting now is one you must have to do in a circle, you must have to do in a tribe, you must have to do with community, the support of coaches, of mentors, and fellow parents on the same kind of journey that you are going through. You cannot be in every community. You have to be in a community where you have people helping you with your values. People having values that align with yours. So in the inner tribe, that's what you get. You get coaches, you get mentors, you get all that, and they're telling you how to raise this particular child, this vision you've just casted, how to make it a reality. After casting your vision, you're now coming down to today. How do we now begin this journey? How do we take this journey onwards to ensure that we raise children who are sexually wise, children who can discern truth from lies, children who can say no to pressure, children who are not afraid to follow the narrow road and not the broad road to hell? Let's start with the first W. That is the what. That's section 2 of my conversation. That's the what. What does it mean to be sexually wise? Right? As a parent, your wisdom is not fear, right? That you're raising a sexually wise child, fear is out of the question. In fact, once there is fear in the equation, you're already losing ground, because you cannot do sex conversations in fear. Once fear comes in, it's over. Once you're panicking because you're watching the news, because you're hearing the news, because you're hearing the things happening and how children are, getting corrupted and all that, and you begin to panic, and out of that panic you begin to make decisions. Out of that fear you begin to make decisions. Even when you speak, when you are educating your children, it's coming from the place of fear, and you're just destroying, you're just sabotaging your efforts. It's not overprotection. Oh, because they said this, now you're helicoptering over your children. You're now the helicopter over your children. You're monitoring their every move. You're not letting them breathe. Okay, that's not it. That's not how to raise a sexually wise. Sexual wisdom is all about equipping, and that's why we're here. Equip your child, because why? You're not always going to be with your child. In fact, a lot of times when they are making that decision, that sexual, that life-altering decision, you won't be there. A lot of us will send our children to school in the morning, from morning till afternoon. You're not there. And in between those hours, they are making decisions. They are making powerful decisions. And eventually they will leave your home. And your vision is to raise sexually wise children that when they leave your home, they can even make choices that are sexually wise. That's your goal. So overprotection is out of it. We are talking of children who have accurate knowledge. That's a sexually wise child. Age-appropriate knowledge and shame-free. We are talking of children who have conviction, biblical conviction. They know what God says per time. Nobody can, just today, my younger child, my son, said he was going to, after church yesterday, based on the topic that was taught, that he was going to write down questions, hard questions that he's going to ask the pastor. You understand? That he's going to write questions that, these questions will be hard for the pastor to answer. I said, my son, right. I encouraged him. When you get the opportunity, ask away. Because we're not raising people who will just swallow anything, especially the children of these days. They must, be convinced. While we trust the Holy Spirit to do his work, we will also do our work of answering as many questions as we can answer. We will also do our work of not shutting them down, telling them you can't ask such questions. I say, my son, right. When you get to ask, you understand? So that is how they get biblical conviction. So they don't grow up and be like, what's all that? That's what happened to the recent the person on the news, the billionaire, that the tech billionaire in Nigeria that is in the news for the wrong reason. It's a boy that was being raised solidly in a solid church. But look at what he turned out to be, because nobody was there to answer his questions. Christianity of those days was anything they tell you, just take it like that. Practical skills. A sexually wise child is equipped with practical skills to make the right decision. A sexually wise child is a child who has self-control, who can govern themselves. I've said it before, that is a child who has discernment, and then they have a voice. A sexually wise child has a voice and knows that they have a voice, and even know how and when to use their voice. A sexually wise child can identify unsafe behavior, protect their bodies, resist pressure, set boundaries, ask for help immediately, and stay grounded in truth, whether the parent is there or not. That is your goal. Whether I'm there or not, that my children, I even tell my children that it's even more important to me what you do in my absence than in my presence. Anyone can be good in the presence of an authority figure. The real you is what you do in my absence. The real you is what you do in the absence of your parents, in the absence of authority figures, the decisions you make. That is where we measure integrity. It's not in my presence. So that's the goal, that even in my absence, they are making decisions that will not mar their lives. Let's talk about the second W, which is the why. Why does it even matter today that we should raise sexually wise children? If there's any generation that needs clarity, it is this one. It is this one. I've said it before, because of the myriad of opinions, because of the information overload. Everywhere is information. Your children don't even need to ask you questions to get information. So you have to be on your toes. You have to be ahead. You have to try your best. Because a lot of times you're even trying to play catch up. Many of us are trying to play catch up with our children. So you need to try your best. very, very best to either catch up with them or even try to be ahead of them. Information is everywhere. Like, they don't even have to ask you. So, but you want them to ask you. You really, really need them to ask you, because everything out there is not for them. There's a lot of trash out there, garbage information out there. So you really need, like the way you need air, you need your children to be asking you questions per time, because they need clarity. Even though there is a lot of information everywhere, there is no clarity. There is hardly wisdom. So they need to know how to separate the chaff from the wheat. They need to learn. And it comes from you, because you are the one who passed down your values. So by constantly talking with them, they are able to understand what is truth, how to separate, how to, work with what they are hearing every time. So do we talk about conversations that children are having with ChatGPT, with AI, with machines? Conversations that they should be having in real time with parents, they are taking it to machine. And I mean, you need to see these conversations, how it goes. So the child feels so comfortable, so relaxed, so loved. I was watching a clip on Instagram the other day where they were suing ChatGPT because ChatGPT told him how to commit suicide. So you see, this is not time to parent like an ostrich. This is time to open your eyes wide. Like, be playing catch up. As much as possible, be ahead. But let's say it's not workable. Catch up. It's not time to say I'm not a social media person. It's not time to say I don't do Facebook. But your children, look, are on those channels. This is the generation where clarity is needed. And clarity can only be gotten from a place of value, from the place of parenting. The culture is loud. Oh, the culture is so loud. So loud that if you are not careful, it's already louder than your voice. It's so loud, you can't even talk about that. Their messages are bold. A lot of us are not even bold enough to talk about our beliefs with our children at home. But the culture you are against is bold. A lot of us are afraid that we are going to give too much information to our children. Like, how am I going to say it? Is that not too much information? How am I going to talk about sexual intercourse to my child? Is that not going to be too much information? Come on. The culture doesn't care that your child is 3 years old. They don't care that your child is a minor. Whatever they want, whatever information they want to pass, they move it immediately raw. You are the only one sitting down in your home and say, my children are too young, my children are too young to hear these things. Come on. That's not how to raise a sexually wise child. Their messages are bold. Of course, I don't need to tell you how. And the confusion, they're actually deliberately putting everyone in confusion. So you see that our children are now growing in a world that is hyper-sexualized. Look at it. Everything, every single thing. The other day I was watching an advert that used to show on our national television when we were still little children, and I was watching a particular one about a soap, Joy soap. And I was telling my children that if this advert was to be done again today, I'm pretty sure it's going to be done by a woman who is half naked. Well, they may not show us the nakedness, but they will suggest through the video that she's completely naked, and then give the watchers, the viewers, imaginations, ungodly imaginations. So everything is set, everything. It looks like that's what is selling now. So if you don't attach sexuality to what you are advertising or selling, you have not even started. The people that are having, you see young girls go to TikTok, to do OnlyFans. They go to TikTok to just, GRWM, and they are naked, because they see that is what people are looking for. So a child who is not grounded, who wants followers, likes, and all that, they would go to any height to get those things from social media. Hypersexualized, porn-saturated digital space. A generation questioning identity. A peer-influenced environment, a world where silence is interpreted as approval. This is the confused culture we are talking about. Your silence is approval. And you know what? The enemy is not even hiding. I told you before, you think you have time. Satan knows he doesn't have time. And he's working with that energy, with that mindset. For us, we have time, we have everything. This guy knows that he knows what is coming ahead of him. So he's working 247. And he's not hiding. You can see how loud everything is becoming. You can see how unashamed. You can see how bold. And you know, it's usually the bold and the loud that takes the day. It doesn't matter what you have to share. If you're not bold and loud about it, forget about it. And look at, you're not bold with your values. You're not bold with your beliefs. Then they see the bold people making moves on the streets, making moves on media. Everybody wants to identify with, the trend. They want to identify with the bold people. My dear, this is not time to hustle. This is not time to say my child is too young. You have to come straight ahead with truth. He's going after the identity early. That's the biggest one today.
Gaining so much knowledge on.
He's going after their identity, big time. And what is the cost of your silence? What is the cost? Let me tell you the cost. Your silence is just confusion. You are like just dipping your children into the confused. You're putting them deep into the confusion of the culture. I don't know. They said, what did they say? That's trend. Because you're not talking. What is the cost of parental silence? Curiosity gone wrong. They say, I cannot talk, that sex education will make my child curious. And I'm saying, aren't children born curious? Children are born curious. Without you talking about it, they'll ask you how they were born, how babies are made, blah, 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 blah. Without you talking about it, because they have a mind that is always asking questions. What does coming into the conversation do for your child? You guide their curiosity. That's what helps. That's what you do. You don't let their curiosity scatter. That's the difference between a person who is raising a sexually wise child and a parent who is winging it. Every child has curiosity. The question is it guarded and is it guided? Shame. So you see shame around body conversations because the parents are silent. Secret struggles. Children struggling secretly with their sexuality because the parent is not talking. Vulnerability to abuse. Of course, your silence is your license, is you giving license to the abuser. Misguided decisions that take years to heal. A lot of people have gone through sexual traumas that they cannot even heal from. This is why you cannot afford to be passive. This is why you cannot say, I am waiting for them to get older. I will talk to them when they get older. You're waiting for your child's first period before you start having sex conversations. You're waiting for the first sign of puberty. Meanwhile, children are losing their innocence even before they ever see the first sign of puberty. While you are waiting, dear parents, our confused culture is not waiting. While you are waiting for 18, you're waiting for 12, you're waiting for 15. Ekwensu, in my language, is Satan. Ekwensu is not waiting. Satan is not waiting. They start from cradle. They have books, they have media, they have cartoon, they have tools that they are using to educate from cradle. And you don't have any. You don't have anything. You don't have any work. You don't have any tool. You don't have any book. You don't have media. You don't have anything to use to educate your babies. The next W is when should I start? Train up a child in the way he should go. And when he's old, he will not depart from it. That's Proverbs chapter 22, verse 6. So let me answer. When should you start? I've been talking a lot about saying my children are too young, my children are not old enough. Listen, start yesterday. You should have started yesterday. Just in case your child is 2 years, or they are 15, or they are 0, except you have not born a child. But start yesterday. And what else? Continue forever. That's the rule. Start sex education yesterday and continue forever. That means if you have not started, you're already late. but better late than never. And listen to me, sexual discipleship, as I call it, is not a one-off conversation. It's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle. So from zero, you're talking, you are educating verbally and non-verbally. Of course, when a child when you're not doing structured education, the child is learning from the environment. So by the time you make sure that of the kind of music you're playing in your environment, you're making sure of the kind of things on your screen, that's you sexually educating, you know, giving your children sexual education, who is not even yet born or who is just 0-year-old. By the time you are dressing properly, by the time you're keeping the environment sexual, sex proof, that is you doing non-verbal form of sex education for your child who is not yet in a structured environment like school. So education, of course, doesn't start when they enter school. It starts even in the womb. So by the time you're even expecting a child, sex education already starts because you are making sure that the environment is not sexualized. At least you can't control what's happening on the streets, in parties, in churches, and those public spaces. But there is something you can control: your personal space, your house, your car, your phone, your TV. You have control. At least make sure that that immediate environment where your child is growing up in is not sexualized. It's in your power. So you talk about body awareness, body parts and all that. You go on to boundaries. Of course, you know that this kind of conference is not where we go deep into these conversations. That's why you have to join the inner tribe. I know there's a particular month in the year that the inner tribe talks about sex, in the family. So it's something you do over and over again, and then you continue with identity, sexuality, body changes, and of course in the teen years you talk about values, purity, pressure, navigation. Remember, sexuality talk is not one big talk. It's a series of small, simple, intentional conversations. So when we're talking about sex education, don't think of big talk. Think about ongoing relationship. And you see, let me cap on 1 minute on relationship. If there's no relationship between you and your child, you're even talking rubbish, like you're talking trash, like they're not even hearing you. So that's even where you start from. And I heard the parents in the inner tribe talking about connection. That is the crux of parenting. That is the core of parenting. And of course, that is the foundation of, healthy sex conversation, like connection, relationship, trust is built where there is constant communication and connection. So, and when there is no trust, sex education is you're just throwing it into the wind. They can't even accept what you're talking to them because they don't trust you. So relationship, sex education is actually relationship, strong parent-child relationship. And research, statistics have shown over and again that children who are solidly rooted at home with their parents in relationship, they hardly make poor sexual decisions. The next one is the where do these conversations happen? Deuteronomy, my favorite scripture, is Deuteronomy 6 verse 7 says we should talk about these things while you are lying down, while you are sitting down, while you are walking on the road, and also. So there, God tells us that we should have sex conversations at everyday moments, what I call unstructured conversations. During car ride, you can use opportunity, your car ride time, driving to school, bath time, dressing up time, bedtime conversations, powerful time. Bedtime conversations are one of the most powerful times to have conversations. Media time, instead of just letting the children or letting everyone just watch what they like, you curate your media time to be time to teach. If you have a particular value you want to teach, you get a particular video or movie or documentary that will help the conversation to go smoothly, easily, and without embarrassment. Grocery store runs, school run stories. Opportunities are there every time to actually have sex conversation. Even in high-risk environments, your child must also be prepared. You understand? I was talking to some people before. I said children must learn how to be safe in the school. They must learn how to be safe at home. They must learn how to be safe in sleepovers. They must learn how to be safe on playground. They must learn how to be safe on online spaces. They must learn how to be safe even in church. They must learn body safety in all these environments. Your home must be a training ground, not a quiet zone. Because your quietness is you handing your child over to the world and to the culture to disciple. Now, let's end this conversation by talking about how. Again, the Bible told us how to have conversations, of which the devil capitalized. The Bible says we should have this conversation in a structured way. That means every week you have a day when you have sex conversations. Right? And then he told us we should also have unstructured conversations. That means at every point in time you can talk about it. There is no time when you don't talk. You can talk about it while lying down, while walking on the streets, while going to school, and all that. So we have the structured and the unstructured system of sex conversations. That is you heard it. The only person that has the right to tell us how to do this thing called sex is God. It to be taught. Manner. So you don't make a mistake. So you don't. That is the same thing. Who is the manufacturer of this thing called sex, of this thing called the body? You go to him and he would say, tell us his design. How did he design this thing to function? We cannot be learning it from the world. We cannot be learning it from the devil. Okay? So let me be rounding up. You are here for me. Okay, let me be rounding up. So you start with God's design. Okay? Start, with God's design. It's not a mistake that the very first conversation about sex in the Bible is male and female, that God made them male and female. It's not an accident. That means that is where you start from design, from gender, as how the design of God from the beginning. Okay? So please give me 5 minutes to finish up. Teach the male-female design early and teach it without shame. To teach now. You don't just assume that your children know that it's only male and female we have when they are talking about different genders. You can't do that in assumption. You start the way the Bible started. Let's talk about gender. Let's talk about God's design for humanity. Then you move on to talking about body safety skills, right? The skills such as refusal skills. You guide your child on how to make refusals, how to refuse pressures, how to refuse desires and all that. Okay, how to go away from uncomfortable situations, how to report, how to use their voice, discernment. We've talked about discernment, how to don't even recognize when they themselves are also carrying out an unsafe behavior because nobody has shown them. Okay, skills, powerful emotional skills, self-governance, self-esteem. These are according to me, the rules of and which I sourced from the scripture. First of all, the body is for the Lord. Or 9 says, the body for the Lord for the body for the Lord. Right? That is where that's the rule. Let's start this conversation from this body you even have. It doesn't belong to you. It's for the Lord. I don't want to even go deep because I don't have time anymore. But the second rule is that this body is a gift given to you to be a steward. Who is a steward? A steward is not an owner. So I shifted my conversation. I've shifted what I teach, what I talk about from saying my body is my own. My body is my own. My body is my own. And can't you see what people are doing with their bodies? Can't you see how people are piercing, drawing, painting, cutting, patching? Because they feel that this body is their own. Nobody owns a body. Nobody can create a body. The owner of the body gave you as a gift to steward it, to use care of it. That takes me to the rule number 3 of the body, which is that it is for a purpose. And I tell, even up until last week, I was telling girls that You didn't get it. God didn't give you a body, didn't create you, and then started thinking of what you will use the body to accomplish for him on earth. It was because he saw a purpose. There was a purpose to be fulfilled on earth. There was a problem to be solved on earth. There is a question that should be answered on earth. And he figured out that this is the height, the nationality. This is the right person that will do the job. And then he gave you the body and say, go. So what are you talking about? If you are not fulfilling purpose, you're wasting the body. Jesus said it clearly. A body you have given me. I have come. In the volume of the book, it is written about me to do your will. You have a body because you have the will of God to be done, not your will. 3 rules of the body. The body is for the Lord. The body is a gift for me to steward, and the body is for purpose fulfillment. And then, of course, to prepare them for cultural life. Role play realistic scenarios. What if? What if? You know, so they can even know that what you're talking about really exists in life. What if? What will you do if a friend shows you something inappropriate on the phone? What if someone says boys can be girls? What if someone asks you to keep a secret? What if? Just think of scenarios that everyday children go through and ask in your home, and let's practice what we will say, how we will answer, and what we will do. And finally, model sexual wisdom as parents. Model sexual wisdom as parents. Modeling is the cap, is the everything of parenting, because you can't be saying one thing and be doing another thing. And modeling comes in many forms. And of course, if you need to heal, a lot of parents haven't healed from their sexual traumas, and they are using it at all because they don't even want to visit it. So what you should do is to get healed from whatever traumas you went through sexually that is affecting, you. You are their first curriculum. You are their first curriculum. You are their first curriculum when it comes to sex education. There's nothing like you cannot watch porn, but you watch porn. You cannot masturbate, but you masturbate. You think it's for that parents are free. No. The call to sexual purity and sexual wholeness is a life calling. It's not for children or for young people or married people. Even when you marry, your sexuality must also be an honor to God. It must also be a worship to God. So you must model that to your children. And as I wrap up, silence is agreement. Your silence is you agreeing with Satan, agreeing with culture that there are 10, 100 genders. Your silence is you telling them, okay, you can actually have sex with anybody you want. Your silence is you telling them masturbation is okay. Your silence is you telling them you can watch anything on the internet. Your silence is you giving them license to do anything. You cannot be neutral in this generation. You're neutral, whatever goes. No, there's nothing like neutrality. You must establish solid grounds and explain it to your children. This is where we stand. This is what we believe. This is our culture, and this is what you will follow. So that even in the 4th generation, they can stand and say, our fathers said we should not do it this way. So you cannot be silent. You cannot be inconsistent. Your child's purity tomorrow is tied to your intentionality today. Don't ever be in the category of parents that say you don't have influence again, that they are learning from the television, that they are learning from friends. Don't ever enter that bubble. You are influential in the sexual decisions your child will take tomorrow. Take it strongly and use it strongly. Raising someone's future.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sis. Thank you so much for this amazing session. I think, in fact, truthfully, we can't use just an hour. The time we gave was just 40 minutes, and we can't use 40 minutes to talk about everything. So if you want to really work on your parenting journey, you need to join a system that will hold you accountable, that you will have the time to learn every day and to also practice what you learn by joining the Inner Tribe. So thank you so much, sis. At this point, silence is not golden. silence is not golden. You don't have to keep quiet and say, I will not talk about sex, I will not do this, I will not do that. No, it is not golden. You are really, when you keep quiet, you are trying to say that you actually agree with what society is pushing. And I believe that is not what we want to do as parents. So we are giving just 2 minutes to ask questions. If there are any questions, kindly drop them in the comment section so that we can look at them for you. Coach Chinyere is still here. If you have any questions, kindly drop them in the comment section so that we can look at them for you. If there are no questions too, we move straight ahead to the final session for day 2. And yes, so we are moving. I think there are no questions, so we are ending this stream now. Thank you so much. We honor you, Coach Chinyere, for the time you have spent with us. I believe parents have learned a lot, and we are going to implement whatever thing that we have learned. Thank you and enjoy an amazing day.
You too.